Welcome to the shop. Today we're talking about chargers. And we're going to talk about something I got frustrated with. I want to share with you my journey and trying to understand why my ISDT K2, and there's a million chargers out there that'll all do the same kind of situation where you could have AC and DC current, but you just want to plug it in the wall because you don't have a power supply that's going to use this, or you just take it to the field and plug it into a solar battery. That's what we do. But one thing I didn't understand is Ohm's law and how I can really maximize this using a DC power supply. For example, I plug in on AC power a bunch of 6S batteries, two 6S 6,000 milliamp batteries, and I want to charge it like 8 amps. Well, no, it won't do that. It goes down to about 4.6. That's because there's not enough watts from the AC-DC converter into the battery. Now, if I had this directly to DC, which I'm going to show you, holy moly, I can charge multiple. In fact, I have 2 of these. I'll show you. And I can have all 4 batteries, 6S, 6,000 milliamp batteries, charging at a high rate, and it works great. Also going to talk about these batteries from China Line Hobby. Been playing with them a little bit, really like them. Also talk about dischargers, and the battery checkers and stuff like that. Just, all kinds of stuff about batteries. Anyway, if you have a question, leave a comment. If you like this stuff, hit the like button. Helps me out more than you know. Stick around. Obviously, batteries are a major component of what we're doing in this hobby. Without them, it's really tough to fly airplanes. I have a collection of batteries. I've done several videos on batteries, how I manage them, how I make sure that they aren't failing, the performance of them using different types of ways of looking at them after flights and so on and so forth. What I want to do, a couple things. One is just talk about this brand that I've been using lately, and it's China Hobby Line. What I found was it's a very good quality battery, very good quality components by saying, look, heavy gauge wire for a 4S, 2200, the type of wire, good quality silicone. I've put these batteries through the paces, pushed them hard. I find them to be a very good quality battery that can take the abuse. You'll also notice on all my batteries, I put the weight of the battery. So as I'm using different batteries in a plane, I can adjust where that CG mark is based on the weight of the battery. So just to me, it makes sense. A lot of people say, oh, just put your 5,000 milliamp battery right here. Well, a 5,000 milliamp battery of China Hobby Line is going to be different than another manufacturer. And in fact, they can be different based on the same manufacturer. Not that this difference here would really make a CG change, but some are significant. I've seen not this brand. They've been pretty consistent in weight as far as types. Very good. Anyway, I like these batteries. There's a link in the description below for these China Hobby Line batteries. Check it out. Their pricing is good. Availability is pretty good. Check those out. I have 2 of these ISDT chargers, the K2s. This is the first one I had. This was an older version, and now they have the K2 Air. They will charge 2 batteries at the same time. Also has a little USB-C output, which is kind of handy. The big thing about this is that, yes, you can charge 2 batteries. It also is for DC and AC, which is nice to be able to just plug this into the wall and you're good to go. Some important things about this charger, and a lot of chargers that will charge both AC input and DC input. One thing that you really need to pay attention to and understand is the fact that here it says AC 200 watts, DC 500 watts times 2. Max output current, 20 amps times 2. So why is that important? When you're using this charger, and I have 2 large 6S 5,000 milliamp batteries charging, and I want to charge them at a 8 amp charge rate, I can't do it on AC charge. It won't let me. because it's only using 200 watts combined. That's what the little converter in here is going to do. It doesn't have the wattage to do it. So that's when you go out and get yourself a power supply, and now using this power supply, which has over 1,000 watts of availability, that right there enables me to charge my large batteries, these 5,000s. I can charge each one of them at 8 amps without any issue. In fact, I could have both of these running, charging 5,000 milliamp battery 6S at 8 amps each to really speed up that charging process. It's frustrating when this one will only go to 4 amps. And but by using this power supply, and there's a link in the description below for this RL power supply, this right here is a game changer. Yes, it works fine if you have AC, but you plug DC connector into it, and boy, it really ups your game. Let me show you what that looks like. All right, I've got 2 chargers set up. This one is connected to AC power supply. This one is connected to the DC power supply. I have a 4S battery, 5,000 milliamp, and a 6S battery, 5,000 milliamp. And I have those set up as the same to show you the difference between charging with a DC connection versus an AC connection. So I'm going to get this charger started up here, and I'm going to charge at a current of 6 amps for these 5,000 milliamp batteries. In fact, maybe let's bump that up. No, we're not going to bump that up because I'll have to scroll down. Anyway, so we're going to charge that. I'm going to set this one up. This 6S is going to charge at 6 amps. Going to do the same thing over here. And and do the same thing with the 6S. DC, AC. As you'll notice, what's happening is that this one, here I am charging at 6 amps for this 4S. But it's only going to go, it's maxed out. This system right here now, 4.6 amps on this 6S, it's maxed out at 4.6 amps. Well, that's going to take a while. Whereas if you notice here on the DC, I'm at 6 amps and 6 amps. And I could even boost that significantly higher. That's the amazing thing of Ohm's law. If you look that up, there's a lot of stuff about, Ohm's law and the amount of wattage and charging and so on and so forth. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not an expert at it. There's plenty of people that are really good at it. Anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is that if you're using AC power on your charger, you're going to be limited to how much current you can put back into that battery. It's going to limit you. Whereas with DC power supply, using that for your charger, that puts out a lot more watts, which means you can put a lot more current back into these batteries, so your charging times are significantly less. If you don't care about your charging times, then stick whatever option you want. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to show my setup on how I charge some of these batteries. Typically, they're both set up on DC power supply, and I could crank up, the amps to whatever I want to safely charge my batteries. One more thing I'd like to show off, and I have a video on this as well, but just when I go to the field, and there are days where I'm not going to fly all my batteries. I usually charge up before I go to the field, and I'll fly 4 or 5 or whatever amount of batteries. But sometimes I come home with extra batteries that are maybe fully charged. This right here enables me to discharge these batteries super fast. So much faster than anything else. Plug it in, and basically it's going to go through. You can have, scrolling through this, different size batteries. This is a 4S. You could also discharge at different amps to simulate your plane or whatever. Just charge them safely at a higher amperage. Plug it in like so, leave it, and all of a sudden it'll kick on and start discharging this battery at a pretty high speed. Now, this battery's not fully charged, so it's not going to go for very long, and then gives a very loud, audible sound saying it's done discharging. Anyway, it'll discharge to about 3.8 or so per cell. It isn't a balance discharger. So it's just going to look at the full pack and discharge that full pack down to that, you know, whatever that voltage is per cell, right around that 3.8 storage charge kind of thing. So anyway, great tool to have. Highly recommend getting one. A couple things I want to talk about. One is this little guy right here, which is, got Velcro on it, but I get them from FMS. They're the Predator Lipo battery checker, but it's also an alarm. And the way it's set up, it's going to be kind of loud here, but what the heck. What this allows you to do, and you can see that you can buy these lower cost systems on Amazon and everything else. There'll be a link in the description on this one to the FMS website. These are more expensive, but the benefit that this offers is as you're flying, and I keep this in a plane, this is what I call poor man's telemetry. I did a video on it. Basically what it does is as soon as it goes under 3.6 volts or whatever you want to set it to, because you can click this button and cycle through and set it to 3.7 volts or whatever, the alarm goes off. So when I go full throttle, the battery takes a hit and it dips below 3.6, the alarm goes off. I back off the throttle and all of a sudden the battery recovers and this stops beeping. The other systems out there will continue to beep and drive you nuts, and everybody else in the flying field drives you nuts until you unplug it. This one is fantastic inside a plane because it tells you what's going on. Kind of gives you that hint that, hey, if you didn't have telemetry, that your battery is failing a little bit. Then the other thing, obviously, is when I land, testing my batteries or checking them with my battery checker. And again, this is an ISDT. I'm not sponsored by them. I just like their stuff. And so what this will tell you is a couple things as far as what's going on. You can look at things to see how well each cell is performing, so on and so forth. So anyway, handy little tool to have. Really like them. Hope you like my little charging station demo as far as what I'm using and why I'm using what I have. If you have any questions, leave a comment. If you like this kind of stuff, hit that like button. Appreciate it. Helps me out. And obviously, as I said, all the links are in the description below for everything here. Some of them are affiliate links. Some of them are just links to help you out. So anyway, appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.